Oh, first of all, expand this out to full screen and high def. It'll have the most impact because I'm going to show some optical illusions later on. I'm going to throw a list of words up on the screen, and I want you to look at them and then see if you can figure out what they are. They're almost completely filled in. It shouldn't be that hard, so I'll go ahead and put them up on the screen. And now, if you're like me, you're human, and we can all be mistaken. We can all get something wrong. We can all be tricked or fooled. So I'm going to fill in these words, and if you're like me, you're probably thinking, I was fooled. So first impressions may not be the truth, may not be accurate, even though it may seem to fit perfectly. But we can all be mistaken. And I think if we're honest and thinking about being fundamentally sound in our philosophies and what we believe is accurately, accurate truth and reality, I think we would have to leave a door open and say we could be wrong about anything. But the chances of being wrong about a particular thing are not equal. I could be wrong about some group of words somebody made up to design to trick me, but can I be wrong that 2 + 2 is 4? It's worked for 49 years. Ever since I didn't learn it when I was 1, but you get the idea. It's worked ever since I've learned it. My whole life, it's never failed me. And not only that, all the other people that I know, I've never heard anybody complain that they added 2 and 2 together and got something other than 4. Being mistaken about that fact or truth or belief, I think would be astronomically hard. I only would say that fundamentally I would leave a crack in the door to say, hey, we've been wrong before. 500 years ago, people would have said, what? The Earth going around the sun, it's clearly going around us. It comes up on one side, goes around, and goes down on the other, comes back around. It's clearly orbiting us. And 500 years ago, that would have been just a foregone belief. And yet, they were wrong. So fundamentally, who knows, in 10,000 years or 100,000 years or maybe 10 million more years, 2 + 2 won't be 4. Maybe in some anti-Newtonian universe where things just aren't so integer. Just fundamentally, I leave that door open. But for now, in this universe, in this life, in this time span we're in, 2 + 2 seems to be 4. It works, it's pragmatic, and so it's like the old, are we in a matrix-like setup where we think it's reality, but it's just some computer simulation? It doesn't matter at that point. If it's so real that we can't even see a crack in the matrix, then it is real, because we can't go beyond what we have, which seems real. So for us, it is reality. Now, I'm going to try and trick you. If I didn't catch you on that first one, I'm going to try and trick you sometime in this video so that we can all agree, yep, we can be fooled. Take a look at this image. Does it look like parts of the image are moving and wiggling? If it does, then you were fooled. None of it is wiggling and moving, and if you want to prove it, you can hit pause on the video. So if you pause the video, you notice something very weird. It kept moving. Here's another image that does the same thing. Feel free to pause the video. It won't help. But our eyes are adjusted so that peripheral movement of any kind seems to be magnified to help us see these movements. Not details necessarily, but just movements. A change from 1 pixel over, it's like, oh, we noticed that in the peripheral edge of our vision. Okay, here's another one that's pretty cool. If you stare at the center and move your head towards it, it looks like the outer ring is moving and maybe the inner ring a little bit too. And then if you move your head back, it looks like it's going the opposite way. Now here's an interesting illusion. If you look at this, it looks like square B is much lighter than square A. And it is. It's a white square. And then the dark gray square, right? But actually, in reality, square B is exactly the same color, same shade, same brightness as square A. So I'm going to put the color of square B over this thing in an overlay, which will merge square B and square A into one little pathway so you can see that they're the same color. So there it is. There is no difference. They're exactly the same. I take that off again. Now suddenly B looks brighter than A. Put it back on. Suddenly they look the same color. Color looks the same. Color doesn't look the same. Never a miscommunication. You can't explain that. So there you go. I mean, anybody would say, yeah, B is brighter. Wrong. So we can be tricked pretty easily. Now here's one. Do you see a white triangle on top of a big black triangle with 3 balls underneath the corners of the white triangle? Or do you see 3 black Pac-Men and 3 small triangles which are forming the perimeter of an imaginary white triangle? Yeah, you'll probably be up all night on this one. Well, we may never know. It's an illusion. Okay, here's an illusion. It looks like a box with this other board going in the middle of it, but it's actually behind one of the backboards on the opposite side. So how is that possible? Well, this is how it's possible. So if you're like me, you got tricked again. Okay, now this last one I'm going to show you is pretty cool. So there's a Rubik's Cube sitting on a piece of paper, sitting on a desk. And I just found this on YouTube. Hope the guy doesn't mind me using it. But is it really? I mean, have we been tricked again? Oh man. Unlike the Who song, we have been fooled again. So what about Christians? Could they be wrong about a particular belief they hold? Well, they would never grant that they could be wrong about their overarching conclusion that Christianity was true. But they might grant that a particular belief inside their religion, such as whether Mark was written before Matthew, or whether Jesus is completely human and completely God, or if he was just all God in the shape of a human, whatever they believe isn't completely detrimental to their overarching beliefs, they might be able to consider they could be wrong on a particular point, on a particularly granular point, something small that would not pull the leg out from under their belief, their entire worldview. Similar to how they grant that small changes can occur over time in animals, but not big changes over vast amounts of time. They are not allowing the small details to add up and create their big picture. They're not looking at all the tiny facts and gathering them together as if they were precious, like a mother hen gathering her chickens, her chicks or whatever. They don't do that. They're not doing that. The big picture should be created by all of the tiny details, like a puzzle. If you have a 1,000-piece puzzle and you just put in like 3 of the pieces and then suddenly decide because one of them looks blue, oh, I know what it is. It's a seascape. What? There's 997 more pieces. How could you know that? Well, it's a seascape. I know it's a seascape. My father knew it was a seascape, and my father before him knew it. He knew it was a seascape. My whole family, it's a tradition of seascapes. Seascape believers, we call ourselves seascapists. And, well, I know it's a seascape. It can't be anything but look how blue that piece is. But what if you did this? What if you took all of the pieces and took your time, and it would cost you some time out of your life, but you took each piece and put it on the table and then examined them separately, looked at them, compared them, moved them around, and thought to yourself, ooh, wait a minute, here's a blue piece. Maybe it goes up here. Oh, wait, it's got a piece of red in it. Oh, it goes over here. And what if you said to yourself, I'm not going to concern myself with whether or not all of these little pieces add up to my current big picture. I want to see what all these little pieces really add up to, whether it matches my big picture or not. That's the person who is seeking truth. That is the person who cares so much about finding out what's real, that they don't hold their current beliefs more precious than what they discover by putting all the little facts together and seeing what that looks like. That's the difference. When your pet belief is so precious to you that you shun everything that you see, even tiny little facts that you know are true because there's tons of evidence for it and basically nothing against it, when you start pushing those away, you are in your own private Idaho. You are in a bubble. You will never change, and you might as well get off the internet. Don't ever read a book, and just go to church every Sunday, come home, watch TV, repeat and rinse till you die. So, the difference is, instead of being given your worldview and the big picture as a child and going, well, that's the truth because my parents told me, question whether or not the big picture or the worldview you've been given or sold is remotely accurate. Look at all of the facts you can gather, all of the tiny facts everywhere inside the Bible, inside all of the sciences that we know. See what those facts placed on the table in one location, shuffled around so that pieces start fitting together. See what picture that makes. Whatever picture that makes, that needs to be your worldview. Anyway, hopefully that made sense. I'm going to try and go do something constructive now, and that will truly be a miracle. So I will talk to you people later.